All right, in the budget battles that took place on Capitol Hill last month, Republican members of the House Appropriations Committee fought to include language to prohibit illegal immigrants from voting in elections. You wouldn't think that that battle would even be necessary, but it was. And believe it or not, Democrats had that common sense law removed from the final draft. So what can we draw from all of this? And how can we make out the end of it all in terms of what the left looks at as it relates to election integrity? Well, joining me now to discuss this is Congressman Andrew Clyde. He serves on that House Appropriations Committee, and he represents the 9th Congressional District of Georgia. Congressman Clyde, welcome back to Washington Watch. Great to see you.
Thank you, Jody. Great to be with you, as always.
Well, listen, it's tactics like this from the left, the ones that you saw there on the Appropriations Committee during all the budget battles, Democrats pushing for illegal immigrants to vote. It's stuff like that, quite frankly, that motivated me to write the book that we've talked about off and on all week, Sacred Trust. Election integrity is critical. And when you have Democrats voting, fighting in behalf of illegals to vote, that's just, that could impact our entire republic. Give me your thoughts on that.
Absolutely, it could, Jody. In fact, I love the name of your book, and I'm glad that you mentioned it, Sacred Trust, because that is exactly what we, the people, give our government, and that is the sacred trust that elections will be free and fair, and that it will be one vote, one person, one vote, there will not be cheating in there. But the Democrats don't care about that. That's one of the reasons I believe that they stripped that amendment from the appropriations bill. They also stripped the amendment in the Commerce Science Justice bill that said that only citizens would be counted in the apportionment of congressional seats, which is also an integrity issue. How can you have illegals being counted in the determination of how many congressional seats each state gets? So, those two issues are very, very closely linked together. But election integrity is truly the number one issue that we have to protect.
It certainly is one of the top ones to me, Congressman Clyde. I couldn't agree with you more. And fortunately, in our home state, you and I both are from Georgia, there's been some significant effort coming from the state legislature in Georgia trying to bolster election integrity efforts. I have been encouraged by this. How about you, your reaction to what the state legislature has done?
Well, after the 2020 election, when the state passed SB 202, which greatly improved election integrity, and then this particular term that I believe there are 3 bills out there right now awaiting the governor's signature, and he needs to sign them, in my opinion. But these bills will absolutely further increase the integrity of elections here in Georgia, because it is so absolutely critical that we make it easier to vote and harder to cheat. And as we have seen, cheating has happened here in Georgia, and that's got to stop. That has to be what one of the main focuses of our government here is to ensure that we have this kind of integrity.
Well, there's example after example, as you talk about that, of the left denying election results, and yet somehow that now has become the go-to insult, if you will, for behavior that they now say is beyond the pale, and yet they've done it for years. Why do you think this shift, even from the Democrats, to now attack anyone who questions or has a problem with what happened in an election?
Oh, yeah, both at the federal level and at the state level. You can go back to 2016, where Hillary Clinton denied that President Trump won, and Hakeem Jeffries, now the minority leader in the House, he did the same thing, denied that President Trump won. And then all the way here down to Georgia, where Stacey Abrams denied that Governor Kemp won the election. But they have figured out that a way to cheat, in my opinion, and therefore, when the election is not fair and free, then if you challenge that result, then you become an election denier. And honestly, to me, we are election integrity champions. We are not election deniers. We believe in free and fair elections for everyone.
Yeah, it looks to me like it's all just a big effort to discourage conservatives from even participating in the electoral process because they're going to be harassed if they see anything that's alarming and bring it to light. You know, just this week we saw this fully on display through how the left targeted Jeff Clark, an attorney of former President Trump, simply for doing his job for a client. In fact, let me play a clip here. This is what Harry McDougald, Clark's attorney, said during a disciplinary proceeding in D.C.
Essentially, the argument on seriousness is that Mr. Clark committed heresy against faith in the election. That is, in essence, a religious test. You must have faith in the election, or you cannot be a lawyer in the District of Columbia.
How
concerning is this to you?
Well, this is tremendously concerning. I mean, when you have the Washington D.C. this panel of that wants to take away this guy's ability to practice law in the District of Columbia simply because he challenges something that is wrong. I mean, it's astounding, but that's the city of Washington, D.C. That is how liberal and left they have gone, and which is why we need to clean up the city of Washington, D.C.
Absolutely. Yeah, and if we keep going down this path, then no attorneys are going to be willing to fight for clear elections. All right, in the last few seconds that we have remaining, 30 seconds or so, what message would you have for voters who are concerned about election integrity coming into this cycle?
Well, I would say, Jody, that they must get out and vote. You have to vote. You know, the entire intent of the left is to discourage us, as was mentioned a little earlier, so that we don't get out and vote. I think that's one of the reasons why we lost so badly here in Georgia in the runoff in our Senate elections back in 2020. We have to get out and vote. We have to ensure that the conservative majority that we still have here in Georgia and literally across the nation gets out and votes. Do not let them discourage you from voting.
Congressman Andrew Clyde, you're a hero. Thank you so much. Appreciate you joining us today on Washington Watch.